for our oceans.
Jonathan Young.
I move the question be now put.
Ian Lees-Galloway.
Much, Mr Chairman. It's a pleasure to be able to take my first call on this bill. And I'm particularly interested in the commencement clause of this legislation, because we are in, I don't know if it's a unique situation, it's certainly an extremely rare situation to be debating an amendment bill that amends an Amendment Act that has not yet come into force. And so obviously there are questions about exactly how the commencement arrangements for this bill should work, and as some of us are inclined to do, I delved into McGee to see if there were any precedents for this situation, and I couldn't find anything. In the little time I had to have a look through, I couldn't find anything, which suggests to me that this is an extremely rare situation for a minister to get it so badly wrong the first time round, to find ourselves back here amending a bill that hasn't even been implemented yet. But there are a couple of issues that I think are worth having a look at, sir. And yesterday we traversed the issue of a precise commencement date on the bill that we were debating yesterday, and the need for a bill to have a precise commencement date in it. And you ruled, sir, that, say for instance, taking it to Select Committee was not precise enough to establish exactly what the commencement date would be for a bill. Now that leaves us in an interesting situation here, where this bill, as most do, says that it commences on the day after it receives royal assent. But exactly when should a bill that is amending an act which has not yet come into force receive royal assent? I think that's a fair question, and that seems to me to be quite undetermined. And it might be possible that this entire, the commencement date set out in this bill is out of order, because I think it is difficult to determine exactly what the commencement date for this bill ought to be, sir, because you know, we're in this highly unusual situation where the Principal Act, which I no doubt there'll be plenty of calls on the Principal Act clause, has not yet actually come into force. So I'd be interested in your ruling on that, sir. Of course, there is one possible option, and that is for the Governor-General to refuse royal assent. Now, that's something that has never, an option that's never been used. It would be absolutely unprecedented for the Governor-General to refuse royal assent, but it could be an option if the Governor-General looked at what the government was doing and thought to himself, look, you've got this a bit out of order here, you need to have the Principal Act actually in force before you can amend that act. Then it would be an option for the Governor-General to consider refusing royal assent. But it would be, as McGee says, remarkable indeed, a unique event in New Zealand. No bill presented to a Governor or Governor-General has ever been refused royal assent in New Zealand. And I wonder, really, if Simon Bridges' stuff-up is really the time to be creating precedent in New Zealand. If a minister who is so inept and so incapable of getting something as simple as this legislation right has made such a huge mistake, if that's the time for the Governor-General to step in and do something that has never been done before in New Zealand, maybe it is. I think it probably isn't. But, sir, I think we have ourselves in a very difficult situation here, where we have no precedents around how you deal with the commencement of a bill that amends an act that has not yet come into force. Mr. Chair, we're also debating the title of the bill, and again, this title doesn't tell us very much. It tells us that the Crown Minerals Amendment Act 2013 Amendment Bill. It tells us something. That you couldn't make that name up. No, it does tell us something. It tells us that this is a highly unusual situation and that Simon Bridges is an incompetent minister. But I think we really should have in the bill there the fact that, as it says in the general policy statement, that some errors and omissions in the original Act have been identified. So it should be the Crown Minerals Amendment, Simon Bridges 8 Errors and Omissions Amendment Bill, sir. I think that would be a title that much more closely reflected what it is that Parliament is having to do here, which is essentially to walk around behind Simon Bridges and clean up his messes before the original bill that he passed through Parliament can even come into force. And of course what we know is this is a bizarre extension of the anti-protesting regulations into international waters, and so I think there are numerous titles for this bill that could be considered a unique bill in a strange situation.
The Honourable Ruth Dyson.
Generally, when we get to this stage of the debate, when we're talking about the title and the commencement and the Principal Act, it is a very narrow debate.